What's going on, everybody? It is your main man, Big Ive, the talk of the town, Mr. DETVCH.com. And right here, it's one-on-one with Big Ive. So I have a special guest right here, and I would call this the studio, but this is more like Mac's playground. This is where all the creativity happens. This is where Penguin Ads has taken off and escalated to Carvertise. And if you don't know the entrepreneur of the year, the marketer of the decade, Mac is the man that you need to be. You need to meet. That I was going to say B. I was going to say B because everybody wants to be like Mac. Mac, what's going on, bro?
That.
How's everything?
Hey, Big Ive, pleasure to be here. Good to see you again.
Man, awesome to see you, Mac. You, who's Mac?
Who's
And then,
Mac?
you know, that's one of the things that everyone starts like, who's Mac? Who the hell is Mac, man?
I would say Mac is a driven, ambitious individual who wants to positively impact the world and drive a lot of change in the areas that I care about.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of layers to that question.
So
There's a lot of layers to that question.
Yeah.
But, you know, if we want to keep it there, we can keep it on that level.
Now let's talk about Mac, the genius.
I don't know about
You don't know that? You don't know about that Mac? Well, the Mac that everyone sees, the Carvertise Mac, the guy that started that. Who's that Mac?
That Mac is a very dedicated individual. You know, the team that I work with at Carvertise, we're very hardworking. We're very committed to pushing this company forward. So we have a vision.
Right.
And we want to see that vision through. So that's the Mac at Carvertise is a part of something bigger than just Mac alone. You know, I'm working with a really talented team, and we're working on growing a company which we want to be a dynasty. We want it to last the ages.
I love that word, dynasty. And if you don't know what Carvertise actually is, hit the link. Here go the link right here. Hit the link. Carvertise is a company, a marketing company that people put their ads on your cars, on people's cars, and they actually get seen and like everywhere. Every time I look up, I see at least 10 cars a day.
It's great to hear.
I see at least 10 cars that has your logo like embedded somewhere in it, or just a nice ad. How did you come up with that?
Well, this whole business really got started when I was a junior in college at University of Delaware. I remember pulling up to a red light, driving to class, and I see a bus on my right with an ad on it, and I'm looking to the left, I'm at a red light, I see a billboard, and just the thought hits me of, man, isn't it crazy that brands are using buses and billboards, kind of this whole outdoor area, this transit, this leveraging the eyeballs that happen when people are in transit, using buses and billboards. But here's the everyday person's car. There's 350 million of them that brands aren't leveraging to communicate on. So how this whole thing got started was really out of that question, why doesn't this exist yet? You know, we're all used to seeing the small business owners, wrapped cars of companies, but not just the third-party everyday driver. So what really kind of kickstarted this thing was just curiosity why it doesn't exist. And I started doing research on this topic, found out that there were a couple companies that dabbled with this concept, but never really took it too far.
So it's not a new concept.
The concept of advertising on cars is not new. They were doing that back in the Roman days.
You know,
ride in your chariot, and they would slap their favorite emperor's name on the side of it. You know, and even come the 1930s, you know, milk, like, you know, whatever, vans. Guess what? There's messaging potential there. So communication on vehicles is not a novel idea. What we're doing is we're leveraging scale. So if you want to advertise on cars belonging to not your company, and you want to advertise on cars all across the country or in these various cities or in this specific region, we're now a media channel for our partners to be able to leverage our network of drivers to gain exposure in those areas of interest.
Now, before today, it took you a lot of years to get here. It took you a couple years to get here. Now, and I know you had some naysayers along the way that had you when you came up with this idea. You know, what was that like?
Absolutely. In the early days, so everything just starts as an idea, right? Everything starts as an idea. When I was first running this by people that I really trusted, friends, family members, everybody was like, oh yeah, that's cool. That's a good idea. But then probably 40% of the people I talked to say that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Are you
Why
serious?
would a driver put an ad on their car? I would never put an ad on my car, they would say. So why would somebody else do it? I had a ton of people say that. There were a ton of people, Big Ive, who said that drivers would never do this because they would never put a GPS in their car for us to track where that messaging goes, you know, to provide accountability back to the advertiser. So there were naysayers, but you know, at the end of the day, it couldn't shake my fundamental belief in the fact that were there drivers out there who would put an ad on their car for residual income. And if we harnessed enough drivers together, would there be brands and marketers who would want to put their ad on those cars at the right price point? To me, it was absolutely possible, but could you make the puzzle balance? Like, so how do you execute knowing that there are two truths that are capable of aligning? How do you execute to make that business model possible?
And I was going to ask you, like with all those naysayers, and you know, and I know that this wasn't people from college that you went to school with, but what made you pursue it? Because you could have quit.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, you know, you run into hardships every day.
And talk about it.
You run into hardships every day. And, you know, you need the mental fortitude not to quit. That's something that gets built. It's a muscle that gets built up over time. But what made me ultimately want to pursue this was when I started dipping my toe into the water. And I realized that there was demand from drivers to do this. So how this whole thing got kick-started from an idea to action was when it was time for rubber to hit the road. It was like, okay, Mac, is this an idea or are you doing something about it? I threw up a landing page. At the time, Carvertise was called something different. It was called Penguin Ads. That's a different story on how we got that name. And it was a really simple landing page that I created, essentially just explaining what the opportunity was to drivers, and it had some data fields where we could capture who the drivers were, where they went. And I called up 5 buddies and I said, listen, I need your help. I'm printing out a couple thousand flyers and I really need your help passing these out at shopping centers. And this was while you was in college? While I was in college, still a junior. So, you know, for about a month straight, me and 5 other buddies, to this day, you know, still put this over me that Carvertise would not exist without them. We went to piece of the rock. We went to shopping centers around University of Delaware, and we just started passing out these flyers to anything walking or breathing. Market research. And this was very, very simple market research. And lo and behold, drivers started signing up. So once I got that kind of little taste of validation of, okay, somebody wants it. Yeah, drivers will actually do this. Then it came, you know, I solved half the piece of the puzzle. I was like, okay, I don't know exactly what price point it needs to be. I don't know exactly the level of flexibility. But you got pieces. I knew that drivers fundamentally would do this. Like a certain demographic, a certain percentage of drivers were interested in this opportunity. And keep in mind, This is before Uber and Lyft. Like, you know, we're talking 5 years ago. They were just starting out, but it wasn't a ubiquitous form of transportation like it is today. This whole sharing economy, gig economy is a relatively recent terminology. So we were just on the forefront of that when this whole kind of cultural mindset started seeping in. So once we realized that drivers were willing to do this, you know, then we got to the hard part. Would advertisers employ this style of advertising over billboards or radio?
Well, billboards was going
print?
out. Radio was going out. You know, people weren't listening to radio like they were running ads like they were before.
You'd be surprised. The radio, so overall, I agree, Big Ive, that audience levels are precipitously declining in print and radio. There's no question about it.
Right.
However, those are bastion establishments which are really ingrained into the media and marketing culture. So they're going to be relevant for a very long time.
They're still going to be there,
They're
right?
Still
they're not going to be zero, right?
Exactly.
I hear you.
They're still very heavy incumbents in the media and advertising landscape, so they're going nowhere anytime soon. But hands down, their audience levels are declining. But that's who we're up against. You know, it's a completely David versus Goliath situation.
So with this David versus Goliath situation, what makes you different?
There's a ton of things that make us different. I mean, primarily just the inherent fact that for the first time, brands could advertise on fleets of cars. Assuming that they don't have their own trucks or their own employees wrapped. This is, if you think messaging on cars is cool or can look cool or you can create a really cool design for it, we're really the only game in town for you to get your message seen in an area which is a priority to your brand through the means of wrapped cars. Right? So intrinsically, the medium itself is a differentiator. Now, from a practical means standpoint, how Carvertise is differentiated in the marketplace is really in two large ways, which is there are certain regions, either rural or suburban or legally protected areas where you really can't get your message seen outside. So billboards are outlawed in certain areas. Like in downtown Washington, D.C., you will find no billboards.
But you'll find a
same
car.
With Hawaii. But there are plenty of cars driving through these areas. But same with rural areas, suburban areas, where, you know, one of our clients, one of our partners may have an audience who are their potential customers, and they need to get a message in front of them, but there's no efficient means of doing that because there's no billboards there, there's no buses there. So we serve a real purpose, a real useful purpose in getting exposure in all these white spaces, all these areas that marketers currently can't reach. But then in addition, you know, we are a very cost-effective solution to getting advertising exposure in regions where the CPM, the cost per thousand impressions, is sky high. Take New York City, take LA, take Houston, take Chicago. You know, if you want to put your message in that jungle there, supply is very limited, there's high demand, those prices are very high. And our unit economics of providing our service are the same right here where we're headquartered, Big Ive, compared to Chicago or LA or New York City. So from a cost per thousand impressions standpoint, we win there too.
Got you. And one thing about Carvertise is that your data is amazing, the way that you keep data. Unlike billboards and radio, you can say, okay, you could give a broad number like, hey, 40,000 cars are going to come up and down 95. But what makes your data stick out is that you know the route that the drivers are going. You know who's seeing it, and you just got people love the way that Carvertise keeps data.
I think we're in a different day and age than we were just 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Where with the rise of digital and how fast advertising market share is going over into digital, it forces a higher level of accountability on all these other media formats.
Right.
So when they're seeing the click-through rate and the amount of conversions that they're seeing in digital, advertisers are now becoming a little more sensitive to that information. They want to see more level of detail. So when we come into the scene and we're adding this higher level of accountability with our cars, our wrapped cars, they like to see how many impressions each car is generating when it drives around. They love to see the paths of collectively how much exposure they're getting in a certain region, and how does that translate into a percentage of saturation level in that market? What's the GRP rating? What's the showing level of the amount of cars we have in that particular marketplace? And the fact that we're able to show that already puts us a step above buses.
And you're showing this monthly. You're showing this every month, every 30 days. This is what's going on. This is where the cars are going.
Yeah, frequency. The frequency in which we provide that data back to the clients that's clockwork. That's nothing.
So you're showing 300% worth of growth every year. Take me back to like your first customer.
Sure.
How did you get your first customer?
We got our first customer really through straight finessing. As funny as that sounds.
Right.
Here's what I mean by that.
I'm curious what finesse.
Here's what I mean by that, which is, we were still in college and drivers were beginning to sign up with our program. And I remember telling my friend's mom over dinner, I was at my friend's house, and I was telling my mom's friend, like, you'll never believe this. Like, I created this website, and drivers are actually now starting to sign up. And she's like, you know what, Mac, you should really join the Newcastle County Chamber of Commerce. Right. Because a lot of business owners hang out there, and that's where you could probably get customers.
Right.
So after hearing that, I looked up the Newcastle County Chamber of Commerce's website, looked at their events, and I started going to event after event after event. Everybody was like, who is this kid? Like, youngest guy there, hands down. Didn't realize, socially. Take off your jersey, bro. You're not in college here anymore. You're around you're around other business people. So
and I
stood out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, I know they looked at you crazy, like, yo.
And I was like, here's my business, right? This is before we had any customer. I was like, tell me where you want your message seen. And I've got a whole inventory of drivers, which we did, and I could put your message on their cars. Right. And I'll tell you what, just like we preach to our partners, our clients, it's the power of frequency. You keep on showing up. At first, everybody thought it was dumb. Everybody thought it was crazy. It was like, right, kid. All right, I'll see you later. And then I kept on showing up. I kept on showing up. I kept on showing up. And then people came to know who I was, came to like understand me, and a higher level of trust got built where finally one of the business owners there who runs a small diamond shop was like, you know what, why don't you come to my office and let's have a talk. And we worked out a deal to do a 1-car campaign.
Are you serious?
For 6 months. And everything,
how did you feel after that?
Everything got started off of that.
That 1 car?
That 1 car for 6 months, yep. Wow. It was the sparkle car. There were little diamond shiny stars all. It was completely over the top.
Oh my gosh.
When you get your first win, your first little W, you get a taste from the well and you want to keep on going. So after that happened, me and my business partner Greg were like,
shout out to Greg. We can't forget Greg. Shout out to Greg.
The story Carvertise would not exist without my co-founder Greg.
Awesome. He's an awesome dude, man. And he's real low key.
Very low key.
Very low key. So shout out to Greg, man.
Very low key, very under the radar, but he has a nickname from one of our investors, the Stealth Bomber. Because he closes deals.
You
would never expect it.
Awesome.
That is why he's the Stealth Bomber. So he's been an integral part of the Carvertise story.
So now, how many accounts do you have that are with Carvertise? Because honestly, every time I look up on social media, man, I'm seeing you in New York. I'm seeing you was just in DC. I saw that you met with the gentleman that was doing the Volkswagen ads.
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. Meeting the founder and CEO of Volkswagen, or Beatles of America. So he was doing, he piloted this concept in the 70s using only Volkswagen bugs. So he flew us down to Sarasota, Florida to meet with him, and it was pretty amazing.
Was it like so real for you?
His story.
Was it like, you know,
it was, I'll tell you what, it was, you know, when you're in something really deep, right? Say journalism or say reporting, and you get to meet an acclaimed veteran in that field, there's a different level of respect and just kind of awe that you have for that person. And what we're doing is so niche that when, you know, I know of or find somebody who has done something similar to this, and like in this case, he was doing this exact business with Volkswagen bugs in the 70s.
And he had some awesome ads. I saw them. Those ads were awesome, man.
The creative he was doing on Volkswagen bugs was phenomenal.
Yeah, man.
And the level of clientele that he was also working with was nothing short of impressive. Very impressive. The way that his name is Charlie Bird. He's their the CEO of what was then Beetle Boards of America. The level of brands he was able to get on board.
Unreal.
We're talking national campaigns, international campaigns. Pepsi was running campaigns with him.
Is that next for Carvertise?
Spain, United States, Mexico.
That's next for you guys. International.
There we are having those talks.
So okay, I'm in Miami. I wanna start a Carvertise. You know, I hear about you. I read about you in the Fortune magazine. Boom. How do I get started? What's the process?
If you were a brand, a marketer?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. So the way the process works is, let me just kind of take a step back, right? So every day we're getting currently 500 drivers signing up through our program.
How many?
500 every day. Around this time last year was 100 people a day signing up. Right now it's 500 people signing up a day.
Are you serious?
Yep. So we're about at 260,000 drivers across the country right now. Most of them, by far the vast majority, waiting for a campaign, right? Because just supply exceeds anything else right now, just with the vast amounts of drivers that we have. But every day they're entering our system, and we're collecting their data. So we have a really high level but good representation of who these drivers are, the type of car that they have, where they drive, when they drive, how much exposure we're able to estimate that they create, and all this is just kind of parked in our IT systems. And then what happens is when we have a partner that says, hey, I want to run a campaign in Miami. Right. The first thing that we're gonna flush out the specs. Okay, how many cars? What level of saturation? How much exposure are you trying to get in this area? What level of coverage? Do we want to do a partial wrap? Do we want to do a full wrap? We're flushing out the amount of time. How many months? So once we get that out of the way, then the logistical piece of our company, our operations, comes into the fray, which is very, very interesting because we've written this playbook. Right. We've written and are writing this playbook as we roll out more and more campaigns. And here's how it works. Where the first thing that we do is we pull all the drivers that we have in that region, and we instantly start screening them. Okay, who has a 2008 model car newer that drives over 30 miles a day, that has a clean driving record, who's passed our background check, who has a car in excellent condition, no dents, bumps, dings, bruises, whatever. And so we're screening, I would say, out of the hundreds of campaigns we've ran by this point, Big Ive, we're screening about 70% of the drivers out of the pool right out the gate.
Wow.
Then what we're doing is we're emailing those drivers or calling them and saying, hey, we have a campaign in your area. Are you interested in participating? We tell them who the brand is.
Right.
We show them a picture of what the wrapped car would look like. And car drivers get back to us based upon us saying we have this campaign available in your region. And once that happens, on the back end, we're printing out all the decals, we're sizing it to their cars, and then we have a project management team, an operations team, who's logistically managing this whole process. We call it herding the cats. It is a laborious process because you think about it, right? Yeah. For one of our clients, Empire Today, we're rolling out 150 cars across 30 different markets.
That's crazy.
Everybody has their own life schedule.
Yeah.
And everybody has their own, we love our drivers, but everybody has their own agenda, their own schedule. So we have to work with all of that to get them into our wrap shop, our contracted wrap shops that we work with across the country, who have their own schedules to roll out a campaign by a specific date. Because our clients are very, very adamant about starting a campaign right in line with the rest of their advertising campaigns. So there's a ton of moving parts, and it's very logistically challenging. It's very logistically challenging. But
what other challenges have you ran across with Carvertise?
In terms of growing the company, or in terms of managing campaigns?
Ooh, see, now we could do. I want to say let's do managing now. And because I know that's a monster in itself.
Yeah.
No, but let's talk about growth.
Yeah.
Let's talk about growth. How you go from an idea to 2 people to 5 people to now you got, how many cars you got on the road?
We have 750 wrapped cars driving around on the road today.
That is a lot of vehicles. How do you grow a company to your size?
There's kind of 2 trains of thought with this.
Right.
Which is a lot of our friends and fellow entrepreneurs who we've seen grow their company when we started out at around the same time, they validated an idea and then they raise money, they raise capital to see that idea through, to see if there's a business there. Can you actually make money?
But you did yours totally different.
Correct. We bootstrapped our company and just really grew it customer by customer by customer.
Yeah.
And once things were picking up enough steam on the revenue side, we knew that me and my co-founder Greg were no longer capable of both selling, managing the account, and also setting up the operation of the campaign, managing the campaign when it was on the road, and then deboarding the campain once it was finished. So you always feel a pull. You feel it's like, man, we really need somebody to help with this piece of the company. Like when you're growing, you're getting pulled in all these different directions, and when you start making enough money, then you're going to want to hire people to cover certain pieces of it. And the first area that we felt that strong pull was around operations, where both Greg and I felt that our skill set was more aptly suited for sales and marketing, mainly sales. And so we made a couple hires 2 years into it to bulk up the operations piece, where now we no longer had to make a sale and then turn around and set up the campaign. We had a couple specialized team members whose job it was to set up these campaigns. And we really had to pick the right people there. Going through this whole process of interviewing and how do you get the right people on your team.
Was it hard?
Oh, it was very difficult. It still is very difficult.
A lot of people,
because your team is everything. You can only be as good as your team is.
What advice would you give someone that's in a position right now of trying to not wear all the hats, but to grow their business? What advice would you give them?
I think your job as the leader of your organization is to get smarter people in the room with you as fast as possible. You know, you don't know it all.
Yeah.
Step number one is admit to yourself that you don't know it all.
Right.
There's always going to be people who have a much more developed skill set than you in a certain area.
Yeah.
And as the CEO or as the leader of your organization, you don't necessarily have to learn every piece. You just have to learn to get those pieces who understand that function of what you're looking to accomplish.
Yeah. So if you need sales, you find
hire the best salesperson that you possibly can. Like
Yeah.
if you're looking to you know, build out your IT infrastructure,
Yeah.
you know, I could go to school for a year and try to learn how to program,
But you don't have time.
or you look for the best coder
Yeah.
that you can find, and,
Yeah.
and how you find that person, you know, that's a whole different.
Yeah, that's another
Ball
ball game.
game.
That's a ball game.
That's a whole different.
That's part two of this. You know what I mean? So Mac, look, who inspires you, man? You're a cool cat, man. And every time I look up, you got a book in your hand. You know.
Sure.
So I know there's no TV time at all.
I'll tell you, I don't watch too much TV.
Right. Who inspires you, man? And
it fluctuates. Who inspires me fluctuates.
Yeah. And how important is it to have someone that inspires you, and when you're running your conglomerate?
I forget who said it. I believe it was Albert Einstein, but he said, like, tell me who your 5 idols are, and I can tell you how that individual is going to turn out. And I truly believe that, like, who you look up to, who you want to emulate, is a good precursor of who you're going to become or become similar to if you execute and you look up to them and they're your North Star. So, you know, I have a lot of interests even outside of business, arts, science, photography.
Well-rounded.
Nature.
Just well-rounded.
I'm definitely inspired by life as it is. But I would think in a professional realm, who I really look up to and admire is Ray Dalio of Bridgewater. Of course, cannot leave off Steve Jobs and everything he was able to do at Apple. And then there's certain leaders that I really admire too. You know, I love Barack Obama's leadership style. I love Cory Booker's leadership style and his communication style.
Amazing.
So there's certain bits and pieces of different individuals that I'm like, wow, I want to be like that. Like I want to grow into something like that eventually, and it's going to take time. And even like going back, J.D. Rockefeller, you know, Andrew Carnegie. You know, I've read up on all these guys, the Vanderbilts, and you know, when you see what the bar is, when you understand how far people have pushed boundaries,
and what they had to push with.
Exactly, it inspires you, and you're like, man, if this person was doing that, it's like, I'm gonna cut my own lane, and I want to have as much impact, and I want to affect and bring change to the world like they did. And it doesn't come easy. A lot of people want that. A lot of people say that.
Say it again. Say it again.
A lot of people want that. A lot of people say that, but very, very few people have the discipline to put in the work.
What's yours? What's your discipline? What do you do? What do you focus? You keep your focus on?
You have to know what you're shooting for. So, you know, there's always a goal. There's always a strategy or tactics to achieve that goal that I work on with our team.
Very important
strategy. And then
strategy.
I live a very predictable lifestyle. I go to bed at the same time every day. I wake up the same time every day. My schedule fluctuates dramatically in what I'm doing day to day. But there is a clear pattern to how I live my life. There's a circadian rhythm. And that there's discipline there. You won't find me going out on a Thursday night or doing this on a Tuesday night. I have to, read for an hour, then I go to bed, I wake up bright and early in the morning, back at it, eat dinner, back at it for my second shift of the day, night shift, and then I go to bed, and then I'm back at, so there's a lifestyle that I've developed, and that's the discipline, right? So I'm not taking these one-off days or events every once in a while. It throws off my routine.
And it's I remember like on a project we was working on together, you called me like your big eye, I know it's Saturday, and I'm like, like, you know, there's no days off when you're an entrepreneur.
That's true. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
You know, it's one thing, it's a different mentality, right? So if you work for a big company, you're not very emotionally invested, and you're doing it for a paycheck, and you live to work or you work to live. And the majority of people work to live. They work to get that paycheck, to go on vacation.
Agreed.
And I think that, you know, when you run your own company, you have to love, to be successful at it, you have to love what you're doing, because you have to give it everything. It is all engulfing.
And it sounds like you love what you do.
Absolutely.
Now, your crew, your team behind you. Let's talk about that family mentality that you have in there. You know, I came in like throughout the week, and you guys are like chilling. Not chilling. I don't want to say chilling. It's like a Google atmosphere.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
Like, how is it working with your crew?
The atmosphere that we're building, the culture that we're building into our company is one where you can be yourself, have fun, but we are focused like a dog on getting work done. Like, we have goals, we have objectives that we need to hit. And there's a high level of flexibility around your schedule. We laugh, we goof off, but like, and we're all friends with each other. Like, who we bring into our club on the other side of the fence, on our side of the fence, we all have to like them, because we're in contact with him or her 16 hours for the rest of our life. So we really have to like the person that we're hiring, because we're all spending so much time with each other. So kind of the culture that's being built Big Ive is, if you look at it from the outside, it's going to be casual. But you peel the onion back a little bit, and there is drive. There is work ethic. There are goals. And that's something that you have to be on our team.
Awesome. What's next for you in Carvertise?
You know what? I think there is so much to do with Carvertise. Right now, we're in 40 different markets across the country, running campaigns, but we have one central office. And as one of my mentors, Alan Levin, you know, one of his top 5 rules is you have to be close to your customers. Well, we need more customers in New York City. We need more customers in Washington, D.C., and Miami on a direct local level, not through an ad agency buy level. So what's next is, in the next probably 2 to 5 years, we're going to be opening up more locations where we can wrap cars, and where our advertising account executives can work very closely with the clients, setting up campaigns, where we have an operation team at these actual locations. So I see a further national build out occurring in the next 2 to 5 years, but, you know, make no mistakes about it. You know, the goal with Carvertise is to bring it out internationally. There's no reason why Carvertise can't be flourishing in Tokyo, in Shanghai, in Seoul, South Korea, in Paris, in Barcelona, you name it.
I can see that now, it was one car that I saw, the Crayola car, that was amazing. The one that you just did in New York with the the character. The character, I was going to say animal, with the character on it.
Absolutely.
Like, these cars look fabulous.
I'll tell you what, you know, a big realization that we had about 2 years ago was, when we first started, we were saying, all right, the value that we're going to bring to the table to our clients is going to be in price. Is going to be like, we have to be at a lower price than billboards and buses. And then we're like, so we're putting these ads on the cars, Big Ive, which are falling underneath the door handles, in between the 2 wheel wells, and they're kind of riding low in the car, and it allows us to get economical with it. We made an important discovery about 2 years ago and it was kind of like a self-discovery, right? Just introspection. No, to get this media format to take off, you need to inspire people. You need to see a wrapped car and be like, damn, I want that for my company.
Right.
I want 100 of those. Yeah. I want 100 of those in this market for those potential customers to see my brand, because I want it to look that cool. And it's only going to look that good if your brand dominates the entire car.
Like dominates the streets?
Like dominates the streets. That's our team's internal mantra.
Yeah.
So it's a trend you've seen. It's something that we're going to continue doing, is stepping up the level of design, the level of artwork on these cars, because brands need to love it. We need to love it.
Yeah.
The drivers love it too when it looks really cool on their car.
Yeah.
So we're working with designers all across the world, from Florida to Russia, who have a specialization with vehicle wraps, and we tap them for projects. And we have a very talented staff on hand who does this too. But it's like, when you're trying to build and elevate the medium, you need the best in the world to help you do that.
You know what? I forgot who said it, but it's like, I'm the best because I hire the best. I'm the best because my team is the best.
There's a lot of truth in that.
There's a lot of truth in that. Mac, thank you so much, man. I'm not going to take too much of your time.
No, you're fine.
Yo, can we do this again?
We'd love to. I enjoyed being here on your show.
All right, look, if you got any questions for Mac, give him your information, man.
Mac Carvertise. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is right here. LinkedIn handle is right here. Facebook handle is right here. Connect with me on any of these social platforms, and we can be digital friends.
That's what it is. This is your main man, Big Ive, one-on-one with Big Ive, DETV. Make sure for more positive news, DETVCH.com, and make sure you check out Carvertise at carvertise.com.